Hi, I'm Dr. Christine Muggeridge, and welcome again to Mosaic. Our program this morning is dealing with John Paul II, and the month of May is the month of our Blessed Mother, according to Catholic tradition, and so we're talking also about women in the church. With me this morning is Donna Mohr and Kathy Folan. Welcome. Both of these women are from the program called Endow. And I'd like you to share a little bit of your background with us that brought you to this point where both of you are leading a group called Endow.
Well, we are participants in the program. We're not necessarily leading it, but we are happy to go and participate in the program. And it is a parish program out of our parish, and it's a study group for women, for wives, mothers, daughters, career women, to really be confirmed and affirmed in our vocation as women, and to understand in a very profound and deep level about our God-given dignity, and to try to understand and discover and unwrap this idea of the feminine genius that St. John Paul II talked about so much.
John Paul II did speak a lot about women. He wrote so many wonderful documents directed for women. And what is Endow actually standing for? E-N-D-O-W.
It stands for Educating on the Dignity of Women. And think of it as kind of a study group, or faith group for women.
And can you tell me a little bit about the history of this group, the genesis of it?
I believe it started in Denver, Colorado, by some women, and it received the imprimatur from the Archbishop JPII at that time in Colorado. And I think it's in about 100 dioceses across the United States, and also in Australia and New Zealand and maybe a few other countries.
Now, both of you ladies attended a local university, a program of advanced studies, and you have had a sense of faith. I'm sure that going through that university experience undergirded your faith, but really and truly, what is it about the Catholic faith that would inspire you at this point to live the kind of life that you live, which is one of outreach and evangelization? It's not necessarily the norm.
Well, we were both in the St. Ignatius Institute at USF, which was started by Father Fessio, a great books program. And it was very centered on learning the faith, learning history, reading the classics. And I was Catholic all my life, but I really came to know Jesus deeply through that program and through the study of philosophy. And most of our friends there in the same program felt the same way, and we had a camaraderie. And I met my husband there as well.
So Donna, you have a history of, you received your MA in Italian Renaissance Studies. And how does that dovetail in with your work right now with Endow?
Well, I studied specifically the Catholic Reformation movement in Italy, and I wrote my master's thesis on a saint, Saint Catherine of Genoa, who was a lay mystic. And she was very much a contemplative in action. And she was formed by her educational program that she had, which was a classical educational program, humanism. And she was wonderful because she was lay, and she started this lay movement in her time. And God is always so good, and is always sending reformers at the time when the church needs them, because this was before the Counter-Reformation. So the church was reforming within before the Counter-Reformation ever happened. And it was also, Italian Renaissance was seen very much as a very secular age, but really it was also very spiritual as well, and her life and her work very much shows that, and she's kind of the epitome of that era, I would say, because of the program of study that she did, and because of her charitable works. And she was kind of a bridge from the medieval period of contemplation, very much is seen that way, to the Renaissance, which was a time of action. And I think today we see examples like Mother Teresa, who she called herself a contemplative in action. And I think as mothers, Kathy would understand this, we see ourselves sort of as contemplatives in action as well, trying to be formed in a way, and then doing very active work as mothers in the world and giving back in that way. And the Endow study program is a formation program as well. It's to form women in their vocation as women, and to really understand who we are as women, that we are God's divine helper, and how incredible that is and exciting to know.
Well, we have to close. We're going to go to a break here, but I want all of those women and men watching right now to go to www.endow.org to find out more about this fantastic women's program. This is Mosaic, and we'll be back after the break. Hi, and welcome back to Mosaic. We're so glad that you could join us. We've been talking with the participants of the Endow program here in San Francisco Bay Area, Kathy Folan and Donna Mohr, and we're grateful that you could be with us, ladies. Also, what we've been speaking about a lot today is John Paul II. The month of May is typically, according to Catholic tradition, dedicated to the Blessed Mother. And John Paul II had a very close relationship with Our Lady, as well as a deep appreciation and respect for the gift of femininity, the gift of women in the church. He opened up a lot of possibilities for women to participate in ways in which they had not before. And likewise, as you shared, he inspired us personally. Now, Kathy, you were how old when John Paul II became Pope?
I was 8 years old when he became Pope.
So literally, your life was formed by his pontificate, if you were paying attention. Now, when I was 8, I wasn't necessarily paying attention. But as you grew older, did he have any kind of special significance for you or your family?
He did. On my 19th birthday, I had a deeper conversion to my faith through Christ. And John Paul II's message was always of hope and be not afraid. And my junior year of college, I found myself pregnant. And I knew right away that I would have this baby, and I was probably going to give it up for adoption. I also knew I couldn't just hand it to an agency and say, do what you will with this child. I needed to be the person that found that family, and I wanted him to always know me. Open adoption was pretty unheard of in 1990, so I trusted in God. I gave myself completely to him, which is what Pope John Paul II always says to do. And the way I found the family was miraculous. One woman, I wanted her to adopt him, and she said, go and find another family. And I looked and looked, and at first I didn't care what religion they were, and then I realized they needed to be Christian, and they needed to be Catholic, and then they needed to be practicing Catholic, and I wanted a stay-at-home mom, and it helped form what I was going to be for the rest of my life. And she became pregnant after being 13 and a half years infertile. She said that she would look for someone else, and I called a priest friend of mine, and he said he would keep his ears peeled. And I went back to the drawing board looking for a family. A week later, they each called me an hour apart with the same family that lived in Maryland.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and I had them send me letters and a picture, and they just clicked. They came out, we met. They're very Catholic and very fun and fabulous. And then when he was born, my parents were in the room, and I remember being afraid. I knew giving him up was the right thing to do, but I thought I would see my parents' sorrow, and that would change my mind. We were completely at peace. The Holy Spirit was there. And my dad said, do you want me to go and call their family? And I said, yes. And I kept him for 6 days. We had a baptism and a handing over. And he is now a National Merit Scholar, an Eagle Scout. He graduated a year early. He works here in the Bay Area now, so we see him on weekends. He's a great role model for my kids, and it's been a big blessing.
So that theme that you heard in your teenage years of be not afraid, that theme was a theme that John Paul II spoke over and over many times. He himself was alone in the world after the early death of his mother and the early death of his only sibling, and then the death of his father. In fact, while he was in college studying for the priesthood, his father passed away, and John Paul II, at the age of, I believe, 21, was alone. So when he spoke those words, be not afraid, he really radiated them, especially to the youth. And that obviously gave you courage, more than just lip service to courage. Your life is something really of a witness of heroic love. And I so appreciate you sharing that, because we don't know who could be listening to the program this morning. It comes on pretty early, and you're either early riser or maybe you haven't gone to bed yet from a Saturday night. And yet here you are, so beautifully sharing what could have been a very tragic story ends up turning into a life-giving story. So in the 1 minute that we have, can you, Donna, explain to us just a real quick sentence about Endow and how Endow can fortify the faith of the Catholic woman today?
Well, for example, this month or this session, we're studying John Paul II's letter to women that he wrote in the late 90s. And it's written with such gratitude to women. It's written in solidarity with women. And it's just wonderful to be together with other women and discuss the gift that God has given us as women. And Endow has different study sessions. They can study other papal encyclicals or different saints' writings and things like that. So it's really wonderful.
We're going to encourage our listeners and our viewers to go to the Endow website, endowgroups.org. And we've heard it here this morning from you two beautiful ladies. The gift of femininity in the church is respected, and we need to study about this from a Catholic perspective together. Thank you for being with us this morning. I'm Christine Muggeridge, and you've been watching Mosaic. Until next time.